What's up guys, my name is Sean from Cliche Productions, and today I want to talk about short film cliches you may or may not know about. Now, if you're anything like me, at some point or another you've started writing a short film and then you thought to yourself, this just seems too familiar, and you went on YouTube, you started looking up short films, you started watching them for ideas, and then you realized that your idea was cliche. You realized that it had been done before a million times and that your script was nothing special, or even worse, you've realized this after you've shot a short film. Now, this has happened to me tons of times, and almost every cliche I'm gonna talk about in this video I've done myself, or I've worked on films and thought it was a good idea, and it's just ended up being cliche. As filmmakers, we almost all go through this, but I wanna help you skip past the cliche stage and start getting on to writing and shooting better ideas, or at least if you're gonna do these cliches, do it in a way that makes them not cliche, because not every single one of these cliches are cliches if you do cliches in the right way. I need to start a cliche counter for this video. It's gonna get said a lot. Now, the first one is waking up at the beginning of the film. This can be any kind of variation of this, whether they have a nightmare or a dream and then they wake up at the beginning, or the first shot is their alarm clock getting hit, or they're late to school and it ends up being a Saturday. These are all cliches. Don't start your film with waking up. I get it. It symbolizes the start of the story, but short films are about starting the story late and ending the story early. It's a short film. Your character needs to have development before it starts, and it needs to look like they're gonna have development after it ends. You don't want to make this look like a documentary or a feature, because it's not. So just keep that in mind for the rest of the cliches. These are short film cliches, not feature film cliches. Don't start your film with your character waking up. It's just bad. There's almost no way to do it well. Now, sort of in relation to waking up, don't end your film with, "It was all a dream." I've done this. You've done this. Your friends have done this when they were kids playing around with iMovie. It's stupid, it's bad, it's cliche. Now, don't get offended. I've done this one myself. However, it's not the best way to end a short film, and it is a cop-out unless you do it very cleverly. And if you're gonna do this very cleverly, then you're probably not looking at this YouTube video for advice. You probably know what to do on your own, or you have a think tank of writers to talk to about it. So if you're wondering, how do I avoid this cliche? Talk to other writers. I'm sure they'll give helpful advice and insight into that idea. Now, this is a particularly tricky cliche to talk about, and it's not talked about a lot on YouTube because it's a very touchy subject. And I've worked a lot on films that kind of have this topic, and that topic is coming to terms with blank. It can be coming to terms with abuse, coming to terms with your family, coming to terms with an issue you had in your childhood, or something that happened in your life that just doesn't sit well with you. And a lot of the times, mentors, teachers, and professors in film school in particular will tell you, write what you know. And that's good advice. In fact, it's great advice. However, sometimes the advice is just taken at face value, and people write their emotional trauma, and they write it very generically. This isn't to say that your emotional trauma or something that's happened to you is cliche, because it's absolutely not, and it's absolutely real, and it absolutely should be looked at carefully and never made fun of. It's not cliche. However, the writing of it and the delivery of it can very much be cliche. And that's not to say that cliche is bad, it's to say that it's just been done before, and it's been done a lot. So if you are gonna write a short film or shoot a short film about some kind of emotional trauma that is coming to terms with blank, please do so in a very careful and a very new way. Do it in a very personal way. There are a lot of movies out there, feature-length films and short films, that do this beautifully. Look to those for a good path into telling your story or somebody else's story, but make sure you don't tell it generically, because that unfortunately will make it cliche, and I do see that a lot in the short film space, especially in film school. Now, my next point is the total opposite, and it's not emotional at all. Just random fighting. I hate a short film with random fighting. I've done, like, at this point, 4-ish short films that I can remember that were just random fighting. Some of those short films had no story at all. Some of them had a little story. Some of them had comparable story, but oftentimes it's just random fighting. Like this fighting for the sake of fighting. And it's cool, believe me, it's fun to shoot, and you should probably at some point do a short film with this cliche just to practice shooting fight scenes. It's a great idea. However, if you're gonna write a serious short film and send it to festivals and try and make connections off of it, you gotta make sure your short film has a substantive story to it. Don't make it just fighting. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody's interested in watching that, no matter how fun it is to write, shoot, light, color grade, do the editing too. All of that stuff is so much fun, but it's not that much fun to watch. So just be careful when doing that one. Now, my final major point in this video is square aspect ratios. I love a square aspect ratio. I'm a fan of square aspect ratios. I love 3:2 and 4:3. It's a blast to work with. It's stupid for short films. For music videos, it makes sense. For commercials, it can make sense. For short films, it doesn't make sense. It just is weird most of the time. If you're trying to attract studios, especially TV or movie studios, and you're going, hey, look at my work. I'd love to write something for you. I'd love to direct something for you. I'd love to shoot something for you. They're gonna look at you and go, okay, cool. What can you do with widescreen? Because there's a lot of TV coming out that's in a widescreen format. And I hate to tell you, box style is out. Except for commercials and music videos, it's kind of useless. So unless that's what you want to do, I would avoid doing it unless it specifically enhances a story. For example, if you're telling something from an era that shot a lot of 3:2 or 4:3, that kind of boxy style, I would just avoid it. It's not worth it. Most people don't enjoy it and they just think it's weird. Your peers, coworkers, and other filmmakers might think it's cool. However, your average viewer probably won't, and you need to think about your average viewer, not just impressing the people around you. Now, those were my big points, but I want to go over a few others that have culminated from friends in film school and also just scoured the internet and seen what's the most popular cliche, other than the ones I've already talked about. A lot of people really don't like cliches such as hitmen, suicide to end a film. People will just end a film with suicide for no reason, and that's really just not okay, to be honest. Voiceovers, done that one myself plenty of times. I love a good voiceover short personally. However, the internet and my friends seem to think it's cliche, so it's cliche. Anything about a filmmaker, writer, artist, or singer-songwriter, it's generic. Not to say it can't be done, but it's generic, so if you're gonna do it carefully. Anything related to Wes Anderson, you know who you are. Please stop. Wes Anderson is Wes Anderson because Wes Anderson is Wes Anderson. Unless your name is Wes Anderson, you're not Wes Anderson. Stop. And text on screen. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. I've done it myself. I remember when I was gearing up to do a short film, it was like my first year in the film program at the film school I went to. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this short film. I did the short film, I got to editing it and was like, I feel like people won't understand the story, so I put text on the screen because I was worried about people not understanding my story. Understandable, right? No, it really wasn't understandable. I showed the film to a few people after I had finished editing it, and the feedback I consistently got from multiple groups of people was, why is there text on the screen? I got the story. You didn't need to tell me the story. I came here to watch a short film, not read a book. So don't make people read a book in your movie. It's not a book. If you want to write a book, go write a book. This is a film. Stop putting text on your screen unless it's needed. Like Marvel does it to show you the name of a planet and where people are. That makes sense. Don't make me read a whole paragraph on the screen. It sucks. Nobody's a fan of that. All right, guys, that's all I have for this video. If there are any other cliches you thought I missed, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm always curious to see what other people think. Until next time.